Ahsoka Tano's story is often reduced to a single sentence. She's the Jedi who walked away. Hey everyone, my name is Moth and I delve into all things Star Wars related. Before we get into today's video, please leave a like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button for more content. With that being said, let's get into the video. This sentence sounds so simple, but it's so loaded. It sounds decisive. It sounds like a choice made from clarity and conviction. When you actually trace Ahsoka's life from the beginning to end, that framing collapses almost completely. Because Ahsoka does not leave the Jedi Order from a place of certainty, she leaves from a place of accumulated experience. Life is not shaped by her belief systems, it's shaped by exposure. Exposure to war far too young, exposure to loss that is never fully processed, exposure to institutions that fail quietly, not maliciously, but decisively. Ahsoka Tano is not defined by rebellion, she's defined by everlasting endurance. Every version of Ahsoka we see later, from the reserved fulcrum agent, the cautious mentor, to the emotionally restrained wanderer, is built directly on the foundation laid during her earliest years. To fully understand who Ahsoka becomes, we have to sit and really process everything that she survives. Ahsoka's story begins not with destiny or prophecy, but with instinct. Episode Life and Death from the Tales of the Jedi TV show, Ahsoka's first known connection to the Force happens when she is still a toddler on her homeworld of Shili. During her traditional hunt meant to honor life and death, she is taken by a dangerous animal. What matters here is not the danger itself, it's the response. Ahsoka does not scream, she does not lash out, she does not try to dominate or destroy, she calms the creature. The moment is quiet, there is no spectacle, but establishes something critical. Ahsoka's first relationship with powers is not about control, it is about connection. It matters deeply because everything that follows in her life will challenge this instinct. Jedi Master Plo Koon later discovers her, he recognizes her force sensitivity, but also something else, temperament. Plo Koon does not treat Ahsoka as a tool or a prodigy, he treats her as a child with potential. Distinction is important. Ahsoka's separation from her family and culture is not portrayed as overt trauma, but it sets a precedent that will repeat again and again throughout her life. Meaningful bonds are formed, and then circumstances demand that she leaves them behind. Before the Clone Wars, Ahsoka learns that connection often comes with permanence. The Jedi Order becomes Ahsoka's new home. It provides structure, discipline, and moral framing, but it also introduces distance. The Jedi teach detachment, they teach restraint, they teach emotional regulation. Ahsoka absorbs these lessons, but they never fully overwrite her instinctive empathy. Instead, they sit in with tension, and that tension will define her entire life. She is assigned to Anakin Skywalker at the age of 14. That tension intensifies dramatically. Ahsoka's apprenticeship under Anakin Skywalker is formative in ways that are both empowering and deeply damaging. Anakin is not a cautious teacher. He does not shield Ahsoka from danger. He believes in immersion, learning by doing, surviving by adapting. From the very beginning, Ahsoka is treated less like a student and more like a junior combatant. She's placed on the front lines of a galactic war before she has the emotional tools to process what that actually means. She's expected to command soldiers, she's expected to make decisions that affect lives, she's expected to accept consequences, and she does. Ahsoka rises to the challenge quickly. She becomes capable, confident, and respected, especially by the clone troopers like Captain Rex. This respect is not automatic, it is earned. Ahsoka listens to the clones, she fights beside them, and she recognizes their individuality in a system that largely treats them as expendable assets. That recognition becomes one of the most important emotional through lines of her life, because it ensures that her loss will never be abstract for her. One of the most defining moments of Ahsoka's early development comes when she disobeys in order to retreat, resulting in the deaths of nearly her entire squadron. This event is not framed as villainous or reckless, it's framed as human. Ahsoka believes she can still win, she believes that she can still save them, and she believes that perseverance will be enough. However, it isn't. The consequences are immediate and irreversible, and this moment changes her. From here on, Ahsoka no longer views leadership as a symbol of trust or privilege. She views it as a burden, one that carries moral weight long after the battle ends. This experience implants something deep inside her, a tendency to internalize responsibility even when circumstances are not entirely within her control. This pattern will repeat throughout her life. The Clone Wars continues. Ahsoka is exposed to perspectives beyond Jedi rhetoric. Through interactions with civilians and political figures like Lux Bonteri, she begins to see that the galaxy does not divide neatly into good and evil. Some people oppose the Republic not out of cruelty, but out of loss, fear, or legitimate grievance. This realization does not radicalize Ahsoka, It destabilizes her certainty. She remains committed to protecting others, but she begins to understand that the Jedi Order's framing of the war is incomplete. This awareness creates internal tension. Ahsoka is still loyal, but her loyalty is no longer blind. She feels the growing distance between ideals and practice, and then the institution fails her completely. Ahsoka is falsely accused of bombing the Jedi Temple. The trauma does not come from physical suffering. It comes from abandonment. She is arrested, she's expelled from the Jedi Order, and she's handed over to the Republic. What makes this moment devastatingly is not cruelty, but efficiency. The Jedi Council moves quickly to protect the institution. Ahsoka is treated as expendable. When Barriss Offee is revealed as the true culprit, Ahsoka is cleared. The Council frames the ordeal as a test, a trial meant to strengthen her. Ahsoka does not accept this explanation. When she is offered reinstatement, she refuses. The refusal is quiet, controlled, and final. It marks the moment Ahsoka fundamentally changes how she relates to authority. When Ahsoka walks away from the Jedi Order, she does not immediately gain clarity. There is no moment of relief, no sudden sense of freedom, and no replacement of identity waiting for her. What she gains instead is silence. For the first time since childhood, Ahsoka exists without an institutional framework telling her who she is supposed to be. She is no longer a Padawan. She is no longer a Jedi. No longer part of the hierarchy that structured her entire adolescence. And this absence is unsettling. The Jedi Order gave her rules, purpose, and community. Even when it failed her, without it, Ahsoka must begin the slow process of defining herself without titles. This period is often overlooked by fans, but is crucial to understanding who she becomes later, because Ahsoka does not immediately replace the Jedi Order with another ideology. She hesitates. That hesitation is not weakness, it is caution learned through experience. When Ahsoka returns during the siege of Mandalore, she does so not as a Jedi Knight or a Padawan, but as an individual responding to necessity. This distinction matters. She agrees to help Bo-Katan Kryze to help confront Maul, not because of loyalty to the Republic or the Jedi Council, but because the situation demands action. Ahsoka's motivation here is so consistent with her earlier empathy. People are in danger and she has the ability to help. She accepts the return of her lightsabers, but their meaning has changed. They no longer symbolize belonging. They are tools, nothing more. During her confrontation with Maul, he reveals knowledge about Anakin Skywalker's future. He frames the larger conflict not as chaos, but as orchestration. Ahsoka listens. She does not immediately believe him, but she does not dismiss him either. This moment reinforces a pattern that has been developing throughout her life. Ahsoka increasingly trusts her own judgment over institutional narratives. She captures Maul for the Republic. She still believes in accountability, but she no longer believes that organizations are inherently trustworthy. Order 66 is the moment when everything Ahsoka has learned converges into trauma. Although she is no longer a Jedi, the clone troopers turn on her. This matters deeply. The clones are not faceless soldiers to Ahsoka. They are individuals she has fought beside, people she has trusted, people she has commanded and tried to protect. Captain Rex's struggle against his inhibitor chip is especially significant. His resistance confirms that what Ahsoka already knows. The betrayal is not personal. That makes it so much worse. Because there is no one to blame. Ahsoka does not respond by rage. She responds with urgency. She fights to survive, but also to save Rex and to spare as many clones as possible. Even when her life is in immediate danger, she refuses to dehumanize those trying to kill her. This moment solidifies something essential about Ahsoka's character. Trauma does not erode her empathy. It forces her to practice it under impossible conditions. After escaping the crashing cruiser, Ahsoka and Rex bury the fallen clones. There is no speech, no ritual, no absolution, only silence. This burial is one of the most emotionally significant moments in Ahsoka's life because it represents accumulated loss finally given physical form. These are not just soldiers, they are comrades, they are people whose lives intersected with hers in war and loyalty. Ahsoka leaves her lightsabers behind at the gravesite. This act is often misinterpreted as ideological rejection. It isn't. It is grief. The lightsabers are reminders, not just of the Jedi Order, but of everything that has been lost through it. Leaving them behind is an act of emotional survival. She walks away not because she no longer cares, but because she cares too much to carry them forward. After Order 66, Ahsoka does not seek vengeance. She disappears, living under the name Ashla. She works anonymously, avoiding attention and suppressing her abilities. This period of hiding is marked by restraint. Ahsoka has learned that her visibility brings danger. not just to herself, but to others. When she eventually uses the Force to save someone, it draws the attention of an Imperial Inquisitor. Her ability to defeat him demonstrates that her strength has not diminished, but she does not pursue further confrontation. Instead, with the help of Bail Organa, she agrees to join the growing rebellion, not as a symbol, not as a leader, but as an intelligence operative. She becomes Fulcrum. As Fulcrum, Ahsoka adopts a role that reflects everything she has learned. She helps others while remaining unseen. She provides guidance without command. She influences events without becoming a figurehead. This distance is intentional. Ahsoka has learned that authority often invites compromise. By staying in the shadows, she maintains moral flexibility while minimalizing harm. Her interactions with the Ghost crew reflect this balance. She offers support, wisdom, and intervention, but rarely control. She is present but not dominant. This version of Ahsoka is quieter and more reserved, and more guarded than her younger self, but she is not emotionally absent. She simply knows the cost of attachment. Ahsoka's confrontation with Darth Vader forces her to face the emotional core of her life. Learning that Vader is Anakin Skywalker confirms something that she may have already feared, but never fully allowed herself to accept. This is not just the loss of a mentor, it is the confirmation that someone she loved and trusted has become an agent of suffering. Ahsoka does not deny this truth, she does not rationalize it, she does not excuse him, but she also does not abandon him. Their duel on Malachor is not about victory, it is about acknowledgement. When Vader's mask is damaged, revealing Anakin underneath, the moment is devastating. It confirms that Anakin is still there, but unreachable. Ahsoka's refusal to leave him behind, even as the temple collapses, reflects her defining trait: loyalty without illusion. She sees him clearly and still refuses to treat him as disposable. Ahsoka's survival through the world between worlds does not undo the trauma of Malachor. It does not heal the wound, it simply allows her to continue living. This distinction is important. Ahsoka's story does not resolve pain through narrative convenience. It carries pain forward, allowing it to inform her choices rather than define them. Ahsoka enters the world between worlds. It is not presented as a reward, nor as a revelation meant to provide comfort. It is a confrontation. The world between worlds does not erase pain. It does not undo loss. Instead, it forces those who enter it to face moments they would rather leave untouched. For Ahsoka, this space represents something deeply unsettling, the possibility of altering the past, and that possibility is dangerous. Throughout her life, Ahsoka has been shaped by a loss that she could not prevent, by soldiers she could not save, by institutions that failed her, by a master she could not reach. The temptation to correct these moments exists, and even if she never openly expresses it. Ezra Bridger seeks to use the world between worlds to save Ken and Jarrus. Ahsoka understands immediately what is at stake. She does not argue from doctrine. She does not cite Jedi philosophy. She speaks from experience. She explains that some losses must be allowed to stand, not because they are justified, but because altering them would unravel everything that followed. This guidance is not abstract wisdom. It is born from Ahsoka's own survival. She knows what it means to live in grief. She also knows what it means to keep moving forward despite it. The world between worlds crystallizes Ahsoka's growth into a single principle. Survival is not about control, it is about acceptance. One of the most important aspects of Ahsoka's character, especially in her later life, is what she chooses not to do. She does not attempt to restore the Jedi Order. She does not attempt to claim authority. She does not attempt to impose her understanding of the Force onto others. This restraint is not apathy, it is intentional. Ahsoka has seen what happens when institutions prioritize preservations over people. She has lived through the consequences of centralized authority that fails under pressure. As a result, she approaches every situation with caution, not because she lacks conviction, but because she understands the cost of certainty. Her relationship with Ezra reflects this. She offers guidance, perspective, and protection, but she never tries to shape him into a reflection of herself. She does not seek replacement. After the fall of the Empire, Ahsoka continues to walk her own path. Importantly, this period of her life is not defined by victory or celebration. There is no sense of closure. The war may be over, but the consequences still remain. Ahsoka's search for Grand Admiral Thrawn is not motivated by vengeance, it is motivated by responsibility. She understands that unresolved threats continue to endanger others. Her interactions with figures like Din Djarin and Grogu reveal how far she has actually come. When asked to train Grogu, Ahsoka refuses, not because she doubts the child's potential, but because she understands the risks of attachment and fear. She recognizes patterns she has seen before. This decision reflects restraint, not rejection. She knows that power with emotional readiness can become destructive, not because she has studied it, but because she has lived beside it. Ahsoka's decision to train Sabine Wren and later walk away from that training reflects one of the most painful patterns in her life. She wants to guide, she wants to help, but she is deeply aware of how mentorship can fail. Sabine's unresolved anger over the destruction of Mandalore concerns Ahsoka, not because anger is unfamiliar to her, but because she recognizes where unchecked emotions can lead. When Ahsoka withdraws from Sabine, it is not an act of abandonment, it is an act of fear informed by experience. She has seen what happens when teachers ignore warning signs, and yet this withdrawal also creates distance, another echo of Ahsoka's recurring pattern of separation. Ahsoka's journey to Peridea represents the accumulation of her long arc. She is no longer reacting to trauma. She is choosing engagement. Her reunion with Ezra Bridger and Sabine Wren does not resolve past wounds, but it reaffirms something important. Connection is still possible. Even after everything she has lost, Ahsoka continues to show up. When Grand Admiral Thrawn escapes and Ahsoka is left stranded, the moment is not framed as failure, it is framed as a continuation. Ahsoka remains where she has always been, on the threshold between action and acceptance. Her last known appearance, she is not a rebel leader, she is not a symbol. She is a survivor who has chosen compassion without certainty. Her growth is not about transcendence, it is about integration. She does not erase her past, she carries it. She does not seek absolution, she seeks balance. Ahsoka's story demonstrates that healing does not mean returning to who you were before the trauma. It means becoming someone who can live with what remains. Ahsoka Tano endures because she refuses to let suffering strip her of empathy. She learns caution without becoming cruel. She learns restraint without becoming detached. She learns independence without becoming isolated. Her life is shaped by what she survives and by what she chooses to protect despite that survival. Ahsoka does not represent the failure of the Jedi Order. She represents what remains when ideals outlive institutions. Thanks if you've made it this far into the video. It really does mean a lot to me, and so do all of you. If you have a topic you're interested in, don't be afraid to leave it in the comments section. I do my best to reply to all the comments there. And don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, I am out of here.